Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and welcome to another wrap-up. I actually intended to film this a couple of weeks ago, but the audio for it got all corrupted, so this is just going to be that, plus whatever books I've read in the meantime. The first one that I wanted to talk to you guys about is called A Fire in the Sky by Sophie Jordan. This was an ARC that I received off of NetGalley, and it is a fantasy romance. I think that Sophie Jordan has written other books. I'm not familiar with them, but this is about a girl who is the whipping girl for like the three princesses in the castle. They've been raised together. She's essentially treated as one of the sisters, treated as a princess as well, except for the fact that she, gets whipped in punishment for all of the things that they do. And then because of this, when somebody comes to the castle that has been defending their borders very successfully, demands a princess in repayment for what he's been doing for the country, they decide to trick him by sending this princess slash whipping girl in the other princess's stead. And while she is technically a princess of the realm, she is not really a princess of the realm. So obviously they fall in love, and it's very cute. That's probably not the word. It was so good. I ended up really loving this. I don't know that I really expected to, and I definitely thought that it was going to be more on the YA side. It is not. It is not YA. It is definitely adult. It was rather smutty, if I'm being honest. Okay, it had smutty scenes. Let me put it that way instead. It's not like peak level of smuttiness, so don't go into it expecting too much. But there were definitely some twists and turns that I did not anticipate. It did end on a cliffhanger. We all know how I feel about cliffhangers. We'll see what that resolves as in the next book. I don't know when that's coming out. I don't even know if this one is out yet. I'll try and find the release date and post it near the cover so that you guys can see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to knowing what happens next. So the next one I read was Love at First Hate by Angela Casella and Denise Grover Swank. This was about a man who has apparently started this thing called a Bad Luck Club, which is for people who have been having a run of bad luck to kind of get together and commiserate and lift each other up. And it had turned into this nationwide sensation when one of the former members actually wrote a book that was completely incorrect about the Bad Luck Club, and they started popping up all over the country. And a former internet journalist who wrote kind of like Cosmo-esque articles ended up in the town where the Bad Luck Club originally formed and decides to track down this original member, or founding member, and find out what his side of the story is, because it doesn't really seem to ring true to her. And they end up falling in love, even though they had a bit of a rocky start in the beginning. It was cute. I don't know that it's necessarily going to be a reread for me, but I enjoyed my time with it. They were adorable together. I think that it had a good resolution in the end, so yeah, it was fun. Next up is Get Lucky by Lila Monroe. This is a Hangover reimagined romance. If you take a romance novelist and a divorce attorney and you get them stupid drunk in Vegas and their two parties end up merging with each other, they end up potentially married. They're not 100% sure, so they're trying to figure out where they, first of all, they woke up, I'm pretty sure, naked in bed next to each other, and they had no idea who the other one was, and the hijinks of trying to figure out and trace their whereabouts of the night before ensues, and they have to do this together, and they kind of try and track everywhere that they went. And yeah, I thought this one was a lot of fun. I think it kind of wrapped up a little bit too quickly for me, but you could definitely see the Hangover correlations, which was really entertaining at times and super unrealistic, but really funny. So I had a good time with this one. I was very late on this, obviously. I finally picked up Wildfire by Hannah Grace. I know that the next one, the name of which is escaping me right now, book 3, is out now, I think. Obviously have not read that either, but I did pick up Wildfire by Hannah Grace finally, which is the sequel to Icebreaker. And this is, I guess, still technically hockey romance, although I don't really remember all that much actual hockey happening. So you follow Russ from the first book, the one who was kind of in trouble with all of the shenanigans that happened in the ice arena, and he kind of has a one-night stand with this girl who he meets at a party, and then they both go their separate ways due to unforeseen circumstances. But then it turns into a cute little summer camp romance, because they both end up as counselors at this summer camp at a place that's relatively far away. I don't really know how far, but it's irrelevant. They end up as summer camp counselors together, and they kind of have to forget everything that they thought they knew about each other because of that one night stand and move on from that. And it definitely was different vibes than Icebreaker was. Icebreaker was like reality TV, constant drama, all of the tea, and Wildfire was just like a cozy, comforting, I don't know, it's throwback to summer camp romances. I had a really good time with it. I do think ultimately I enjoyed Icebreaker more, which is why immediately following Wildfire, I just went back and reread Icebreaker, just because that drama that was nonstop just had you going, you know what I mean? I believe the book 3 is Henry's book, and I can't wait to pick that up because I really do adore Henry. I think that I'm in the minority here, in which I really want Ryan to get his own book also, because that man is playing Good Luck Chuck to the entire campus, and he just deserves a happy ending. You know, it wouldn't be a hockey romance, it would be basketball romance, but he deserves a happy ending. The next book that I picked up, I did not have golf romance on my 2024 bingo card, or on any bingo card for any year ever, because I never saw myself picking up a golf romance, but I did pick up Fangirl Down by Tessa Bailey, and I had a really good time with it, which was very unexpected for me. So Fangirl Down, I don't remember anybody's names, guys, you know how I am with character names, especially this was like 3 weeks ago now, but Fangirl Down follows a girl who is a golf pro shop. Her parents own a pro shop that's on a golf course, and so she was like born and raised in the golf life, and she becomes the #1 fan of this down on his luck golfer who out of nowhere, he was like hot for a couple years, he won a few Masters, and then out of nowhere he kind of just started to slide off, and as he got worse he kind of just spiraled and self-destructed, and now he can't, like, he can barely get into competitions or whatever they're called. What are they called? Like the thank you, tournaments. Okay. He can barely get an invite to any of the big tournaments, and everybody's pretty much just barely tolerating his presence at this point because of his history as being on top. And so she's his remaining #1 fan, and he pretty much kicks the puppy and is just like, I don't need you anymore, like, I don't know why you're here, I'm quitting this, and he like rage quits the tournament in the very beginning of the book. And she leaves, and she's like, all right, well, I'm not wasting my energy on you anymore. Fast forward a couple of weeks, and there's this like hurricane that hits Florida where he lives and where her parents' pro shop is, and he kind of in the back of his mind, as he's like wallowing in self-pity and alcohol, is like, I wonder if her pro shop is okay, like I wonder if she's okay, like she was the only person that cared about me for so long, I wonder if I should maybe care back. And he goes and he finds out, and in the midst of all of this he learns that she desperately needs insurance and money to fix the pro shop that got damaged in the hurricane, and he offers for her to be his caddy on the circuit, I guess you could call it. I don't remember. So she becomes his golf caddy for all of these tournaments that they go on, and he starts winning again, and it was super cute. I had such a good time with this. I adored the ending. I really, really liked it a lot. Did not have that on my bingo card at all, but it was really entertaining. I had a great time. After that, I finally picked up Assistant to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Mocker, and that was so good. The cliffhanger notwithstanding, yet again, because, God, why? Why are we constantly ending things with cliffhangers? But realistically, I picked the right time to read this book because the sequel to it just came out, so I don't have to wait too long to figure out what happens next. If I can ever get the library hold for that to come out, or maybe I'll go buy it. I'm not sure yet where we're gonna stand on that, but I do have the first copy somewhere there, all the way in the top. You guys can't see. And, okay, Assistant to the Villain. If you guys haven't heard about it, it's been blowing up TikTok, it's been blowing up BookTube, it's been blowing up everywhere. And it is a campy, fun, like, workplace-esque romance, but set in a fantasy world where a girl who is just trying to help her family survive stumbles upon this man in the woods who's running from people one day, and he's injured, and she decides to help him, and lo and behold, she finds out that he is the evil villain that is, you know, ruining the entire country, blah blah blah, and he offers her a job as his assistant, which she quickly excels at and becomes ingratiated into his life and his business. It's very much set up as a business, which is entertaining as hell, over the course of like 5 months, and she learns a lot more about him and a lot more about his past, because I think somebody's trying to assassinate him and almost like kills her in the process. They develop feelings, obviously. It's very fantasy romance, slow burn-esque, so obviously I'm very interested in seeing where this goes next. But yeah, I loved this book. I loved the humor. I know a lot of people have like it's kind of hit or miss for them. I loved the humor, I loved the characters, I loved the world, I loved everything about it, so I can't wait to read book 2. August, there's not a lot of like actual fantasy in here. This is mostly romantasy for the past couple of months. I think I've needed a lot of like light, fluffier things. So I've been trying to pick up fantasy in between, but I haven't finished anything, and I'll get to all of that in a minute. But next I picked up Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, which is it's her most recent release, and it's probably one of her, I don't want to say darker, but it is a little bit in tone darker. Romance, and it still takes place in a STEM world because the main character, the main woman, works in a tech startup, and she is a scientist. Could not tell you what she's trying to do. I think she's trying to figure out ways to make food last longer, but her company is being taken over by really rich people. I don't know how else to phrase that. And she finds out that one of the men that owns the company that is trying to take over her company was one that she had like an almost date with, literally just the night before. That didn't end up going anywhere, but they had a very intense attraction to each other. And so they're kind of like fighting, will they, won't they, this attraction throughout the entirety of this company trying to take over her company. She's learning a lot of things that she did not necessarily know about her company, and it was really good. I don't know that it's my favorite Ali Hazelwood, but I did really enjoy all of it. I enjoyed the characters and how real they were and how they had such dark pasts. They kind of bonded over that, and in something that probably shouldn't have been a cute manner, but ended up being a cute manner. So Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood was a really good new addition to her book catalog. I really liked it. And then I finally picked up Funny Story by Emily Henry. It's back there. I think you guys can see it on the top. It's like right there. Finally picked up Funny Story by Emily Henry, and I'm pretty sure this is my favorite Emily Henry book yet. I wasn't sure that it was going to be because I wasn't really sure about his character in the beginning. He was kind of hit or miss for me in the beginning, honestly. If you don't know anything about if you don't know anything about Funny Story, it's about this woman who gets dumped, essentially, by her fiance literally right before they're about to get married for his childhood best friend that he's always denied having feelings for. She ends up having to become the roommate of the former best friend, now girlfriend's ex-boyfriend, right? So like how do I explain this? So the exes are now living together because they're the only ones that can understand each other's situation. He just got dumped by his girlfriend out of nowhere. She just got dumped by her fiance out of nowhere, literally after he came home from his bachelor party, and the best friend had like confessed her love to him, and he was like, you know what, I think I'm in love with you too, and kicks her out of the house, essentially. So she has nowhere to live. She ends up moving in with the ex-boyfriend, and they start to like bond in their wallowing, and then they end up in like an awkward fake dating situation. And fake dating is my kryptonite. I love fake dating in any story, and I loved it in this one so much because they were mutually trying to make their exes jealous. They had so much to bond over because of that. I had such a good time. I know that a lot of people didn't really like this one, but I think it's my favorite Emily Henry book yet. Okay, next is Inheritance by Nora Roberts. This came out last year, and it's not one of her standalones. I feel like it's going to be another one of her like slightly paranormal romancy trilogies that she's had a history of doing in the past, but I don't think she's done in a while. Not gonna lie to you, this one kind of creeped me the hell out a couple of times. Ghost stuff does that, and this definitely incorporated a lot of ghost stuff. So you find this woman, another jilted fiance. She actually walked in on her fiance sleeping with her cousin, who was a bridesmaid, and found out that it had been going on for a while. Kicks his ass out of the house and is trying to figure out what to do. They actually worked together, so then she ends up quitting her job because he's making her life miserable at work. And then, out of nowhere, she learns that she has an uncle she never knew about who left her a mansion in Maine and all of the property that goes with it. She is now an absolutely loaded woman. But the stipulation is that she has to live in this mansion for 3 years before she can receive all of the benefits that he's left for her. So she hikes her ass up to Maine because she now owns her own business and works from home. And the house is hella haunted. Ancestors, blah blah blah, everybody that's ever died in that house of anything is still there. And she also finds out that the women in the entire generation of her line have been cursed. So one bride from every generation will die like on her wedding day or soon after her wedding day. She ends up kind of starting a romance with the son of the lawyer who was like helping her figure all of this out, who was like handling the estate, and they start to see each other, and it was really cute how he like acclimates her into the creepiness that is this house. The woman that cursed the entire generation line is also still haunting this house, and she's pretty mad at the whole situation, and she makes it known that she's pretty mad at the situation. But some of the ghosts are really helpful. They like pick up after her, and they do the dishes, and they get her bed ready before she goes to bed, and like stuff like that, which is like super cute. One of them just is constantly on a DJ roll where they're just like playing songs off of her tablet or her phone that like fit the mood. It's super cute. So that was interesting, but ended on a cliffhanger. Like, what is happening with my life right now? I don't know when the next book of this series comes out. I want to say it's October or November of this year. I need it soon because the way that it ended, I am not okay with. I need to know what happens next. I picked up another Nora Roberts book shortly after this, and that's called Mind Games, which is her newest, like, romantic suspense standalone. And I've had a hit or miss kind of history with her last few. I haven't really liked them. I felt like they focused a little bit too much on the past and like a little bit too much on the build up to the characters of where they are now, and not enough on the actual romance. You know, I'm not here for the deep dive into how they got to be where they are. But this one really pulled me in, and even though the romance didn't really start until well after 50% of the book, this one sucked me in because one, it takes place in eastern Kentucky, which is where I lived for the last 6 years. Was it wholly accurate? No, not entirely, but it did have enough that kind of made me a little bit nostalgic. But the entire premise of this is that the main character, her parents were brutally murdered in their beds, and she and all of the women in like her line have this kind of psychic ability. And so when her parents were murdered, she was actually in the mind of the guy who was doing it as he was doing it. The plot twist is that he also has this ability and knew that she was there. He could like sense her. And they've been playing this. She was like 12, I think, when her parents were murdered. She ends up going into the custody of her grandmother, who is the person that they were visiting in Kentucky, which is why she was not home at that time. But she and the murderer end up playing this like cat and mouse game mentally over the next, I don't even know, like 20-ish years, 16 years, something like that, where they kind of like go into each other's heads, even though he did get convicted. Like she's the one who helped put him away. So he's in jail, he's been in jail this entire time, but he has this ability and he can get into her head and has been doing so. And so that kind of comes to a head, and she falls in love with the neighbor guy next door, who happens to be, I don't know that I can say. It's a little bit of a spoiler. I'm not going to say who he is, but it's somebody that she really, really liked while growing up. We'll leave it at that. I didn't see it coming. Actually really, really enjoyed that aspect of it. Wish we had gone more into that and less into like what she was doing in the intervening years between like when her parents were murdered and now. But I really liked this more than a lot of the previous ones that I've read. Identity wasn't really, it didn't do much for me. So yeah, I really liked Mind Games a lot. Then I read Savor It by Tara DeWitt, which was just like a one-off Kindle Unlimited kind of thing. A guy, I think he was like a former 2-star Michelin chef, but I think that stars got taken away from his restaurant. He ended up, I think his sister died in a car accident, and he ends up having full custody of his niece, who is a teenager, and they need a change of scenery, and he gets fired for reasons they're in his control, but they're not really. He gets fired, and his boss sends him to, I think it's like Oregon, where she's opening up this new restaurant. She wants him to like have input on the design, have input on the menu, and just be there to help it go from the ground up. And the woman, man, there's a lot of these jilted fiancés. This is not a thing that I was searching for, just so you guys know. But she's a jilted fiancé yet again, except I think she's the one who broke it off. She was married, or she was engaged to the town's golden boy. and she wasn't feeling it, or the vibes weren't right or something. They'd been together for like 6 years, and then she breaks it off, and he like almost immediately starts dating one of her former friends, which is hella awkward for her. But she ends up being the neighbor of this chef and his niece, and she's like constantly in his business trying to like help, be helpful, welcome him to the town, show them that that they're a friendly little small town and that they're welcome there, blah blah blah. And they fall in love. Plot twist. The end. It was cute. I liked it. It was funny. She was perhaps a little bit too quirky for me, but that's just my personal taste. But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought that the ending was really good. I liked how he handled his teenage niece a lot, especially in the end, where he managed to keep his promises and like no matter what happened. That's all I'm gonna say about it. But yeah, it was good. And then the very last book that I'm going to talk about in this extremely lengthy video is Stillwater Girls by Minka Kent, which is the only like mystery thriller that I've read in a long time. But that was what was picked for my book club that I have started joining, I guess, in my area. We haven't had a meeting yet, but this was the first book that was chosen, and it was fine. I'm probably like a solid 2.5, 3-star read for me. You follow two perspectives. You follow these girls that live in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Their mom took their youngest sister, who was really sick, to a hospital because she thought she was going to die, and it's been months, and her mom has never come back. Their mom has not ever come back. They're running low on food. It's the middle of the winter. They're about to freeze, and suddenly a man shows up at this cabin, and they're terrified for their lives. They have no concept of what electricity is, or a TV, or like anything, because they've been raised in the middle of the woods without ever being able to leave. They've never even seen a man before, and so when this man shows up, it scares the hell out of them, and they realize that they need to run no matter where they're going, so they take off. And then you follow another perspective of a woman who is like convinced that her husband is cheating on her. Something is off with like how he's been acting with her. She has just gotten approved to be a they've gotten approved to be foster parents, because she says that she's never been able to have a baby. She had an emergency hysterectomy, and so now she's never going to be able to have a baby, and all she's ever wanted is to be a mom. And so you kind of follow her perspective. Her husband is this like world-renowned famous photographer who's got like gallery openings, and people want to show his stuff in the galleries, blah blah blah. And yeah, so that you follow those two perspectives. I can't really say much else without spoiling the plot. I thought it was solid. I think we're gonna go 3 stars. It was fine, you know. I didn't really have anything to say one way or the other about it. It was interesting. I did not see the plot twist at the end coming, which I guess is all that you can really ask for from mystery novel, which I'm not, you know, you guys know I'm not really huge into reading like a ton of mysteries. I'll read them and I'll definitely be interested in them, but this one was chosen for me, and it was okay. But yeah, that is everything that I've read over the last few weeks. This video is stupidly long. I hope I can cut out a solid portion of it, because otherwise, I mean, I've been sitting here talking for a while. Yeah, that is my wrap up for the last few weeks. Hopefully I won't go this long in between doing them again. I was just trying to give the channel a little bit of a break from just constant wrap up after wrap up. And that's it for this one today, guys. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps out my channel. Down in the description box, you're going to see links to my Goodreads, my X, and my Instagram in case you guys wanted to follow me on any of those. But that's it for this one today, guys. So I'll talk to you on my next one. Bye!